Hello, this is Disclosure, True Crime Analysis. Now, what you are about to hear is an introduction to a recent crime that occurred in South Carolina's Low Country. To many of you who are local and are already following this case, this information may be a recap of what you locals already know. This is the double homicide, and it brings with it the mistrust of local officials and a deafening silence from authorities as to what occurred in the late evening hours between 9 and 9:30 p.m. on June 7, 2021, on a property named Moselle. The June 7th murders of Paul Murdaugh and Maggie Murdaugh have hit the mainstream media as all eyes are on the small town of Islandton in South Carolina's Low Country, an area within Colleton County. According to the Colleton County coroner, the two victims were shot by two different guns in the late evening hours at approximately between 9 and 9:30 p.m. on Monday evening, June 7th. Now, the requests for the 911 recordings have been denied to date, and several media outlets have filed a FOIA request for the release of that recording that could shed light on the nature of the crimes. Local and state law enforcement have had little to nothing to say officially on this case, and word has spread quickly of the double homicide because of just who was shot. The Murdaugh name is synonymous with power and influence in the state of South Carolina, as 3 generations within the family held the title of state solicitor. Many who did not know the Murdaugh name may have heard of a case involving the now deceased Paul Murdaugh in a 2019 fatal boating accident in which he was eventually charged with 3 felony counts of driving under the influence. Paul had been released on bond and was awaiting his day in court at the time of his death. Additionally, Renee Beach, who is the mother of Mallory Beach, who passed away as a result of being thrown from the boat when it crashed near Archer Creek Bridge that night, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Paul's father, Richard Alex Murdaugh, and Paul's older brother, Richard Alexander Murdaugh Jr., also known as Buster Murdaugh. Other parties were named in the lawsuit as well, those who may have sold alcohol to underage minors who used a fake ID or a borrowed ID, or those who were complacent in allowing the drunken party to board Alex's boat while heavily intoxicated. The double homicide. The June 7th murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh occurred on the family's hunting estate named Moselle. The bodies were allegedly discovered by Alex Murdaugh upon his return from visiting his ill father. The location of the bodies were near the estate's dog kennel, an area away from the house and not too far from the road that leads onto that property. Said to have been found yards apart, local news sources like Fitz News did indicate that the bodies were yards apart from each other, and it is believed that they were shot with 2 different guns, one being a shotgun and the other a semi-automatic weapon. Autopsies were completed by the Colleton County coroner, and there is growing community unrest as the local solicitor has not recused himself from the case, but did call in SLED to assist in the investigation. The same solicitor did recuse himself in the criminal case against Paul Murdaugh regarding that boat crash scene. In an already tough week for the Murdaugh family, 3 days after the double homicide of Maggie and Paul, the patriarch Randolph Murdaugh III passed away on June 10, 2021. The Murdaugh's legal firm, of which they were a partner, PMPED, did not give the cause of death, but it is believed he had been ill for some time. The following timeline of the fatal boat crash is provided by the Island Packet. On February 23, 2019, around 7 p.m., 6 friends between the ages of 18 and 20, including Murdaugh and Beach, launched a 17-foot sea hunt boat from the dock off property owned by the Murdaugh family, known as the Island, on Chechessie Creek. In the next few hours, the group makes multiple stops, including at an oyster roast on Pocky Island and at Beaufort's Henry C. Chambers Waterfront Park. Court documents filed say the friends drank alcohol through the night. On February 24th, the day of the crash, minutes before 2:30 a.m., the speeding boat driven by Paul Murdaugh crashed into a piling by the bridge over Archers Creek near Paris Island. All 6 passengers are ejected, and a horrific scene ensues. One friend calls 911 while still screaming out for Beach, and another jumps back into the river searching for her as others sit nearby crying in pain from their own injuries. At 2:40 a.m., police began arriving at the crash scene after confusion with the 911 dispatcher about where the incident occurred. Thick fog makes it hard to see, even with flashlights, and the search for Mallory Beach continues as an investigation into what caused the crash begins. At 3:19 a.m., an ambulance transports 3 patients, including Murdaugh, to the hospital. One police report says Murdaugh was acting uncooperative and almost aggressive towards EMS personnel, and by the time the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources officer arrives, Murdaugh's father and grandfather, both attorneys, have shown up telling the officers they are lawyers. Officials later tell a reporter from the state, and the Murdaughs stop all interviews and prevent sobriety tests. At 4:50 a.m., confusion continues, and Mallory Beach is still missing. Can someone tell me when this accident actually occurred? A man from the Beaufort Water Search and Rescue asked Beaufort County Dispatch. We are getting conflicting stories here. I would like to talk to whoever called in so we can see exactly where the boat hit and where she flew out so we can search that area better. At around noon, the Island Packet, a local news source, publishes a story about the crash as more than 20 of Beach's family members and friends sit on the causeway near the base of the R.C. Berkeley Bridge. Boats, divers, and helicopters from local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies continue searching. 6 p.m., the first day of the searching for Beach halts at nightfall. The week following the crash, family members of Mallory Beach waited near Archers Creek as crews continued to search for the teen on Monday afternoon. February 25th to March 2nd, the search for Beach continues daily, unsuccessful. March 3rd, around 1:20 p.m., volunteers find a body in a marshy area of the river. The body was later identified as Beach. Mallory Beach, 19, died in a tragic boat accident in Beaufort. Hundreds attended her funeral in Hampton, South Carolina on March 7, 2019. The aftermath. March 7, 2019, more than 500 people gather at the Open Arms Fellowship Church in Hampton for Beach's funeral. She went early, she went young, she loved her family, she loved her friends, she loved her rescue pets, the Reverend Nelson Foster said. I'm blown away by the legacy this teen woman leaves behind. March 2019, Beach's mother, Renee, files a wrongful death suit on her daughter's behalf in Hampton County. Multiple defendants are named, including members of the Murdaugh family, but not Paul. In Parker's 55, a convenience store, Renee Beach alleges the minors obtained alcohol from the night before the crash. April 18, 2019, on what would have been Beach's 20th birthday, a Beaufort County grand jury directly indicts Paul Murdaugh on 3 felony charges, 1 boating under the influence, causing death, and 2 counts of boating under the influence causing injury. On May 6, 2019, Murdaugh pleads guilty to the 3 charges he's facing in the boat crash. He is never jailed and is released on a $50,000 personal recognizance bond. Paul Terry Murdaugh prepares to leave the Beaufort County Courthouse in July 2019 after having his bond modified for the 3 felony charges he faces for the February 24th boat crash, which killed Mallory Beach. Murdaugh's defense attorney, Jim Griffin, asked Judge Michael Nettles to allow Murdaugh to travel within the state. Nettles ruled that Murdaugh may travel within the state with no other modifications. The state asked for GPS monitoring as well as alcohol monitoring, which was not a condition set by Nettles. July 29th, in the latest movement on the Murdaugh criminal case, Paul Murdaugh's bond is modified to allow him to travel more freely through the state, and a trial date is never set. September of 2019, Philadelphia Indemnity Insurance files a suit in federal court asking the court to relieve the company of financial responsibilities for any claims by Paul Murdaugh's father and brother. Renee Beach also is named in the suit. February 24th, 2020 is the first anniversary of the fatal crash. Family and friends continue to visit Beach's grave in Hampton, leaving fresh flowers, balloons, memorial stones, photos, among other things. A large patch of grass beside the RC Berkeley Bridge is still matted where the boat was pulled ashore. February 2nd, 2021. The latest court filings in the insurance lawsuit, and it is yet to be resolved. June 4th, 2021. The latest court filings in the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Renee Beach. Mediation in the trial previously failed, so the suit seems likely to go to trial. That brings us to the Murdaugh deaths that did occur then on June 7th, just 3 days later, of Paul Murdaugh and his mother Maggie. They are shot to death in their Colleton County home between 9 and 9:30, according to the coroner. The boat crash case progress. Of note is the recent publication of parts of the depositions from the other boat passengers that fateful night. It paints a pretty consistent picture of underage drinking, with Paul Murdaugh purchasing alcohol for the night using his brother's fake ID. The group of 6 underage young people set out to visit a party and to use the boat to avoid any sobriety checks they may have encountered by car. They visited a party on Pocky Island where they were observed to be intoxicated, and adults asked them to call an Uber due to weather, which had grown cold and foggy on that February night. Paul persisted and led the group, arguing with members of the boat that he wanted to go into Beaufort and get alcohol from Luther's, a local pub. Upon leaving Beaufort by boat, according to the depositions of first-hand accounts, Paul was arguing with members of the boat who just wanted to get home. He was said to drive the boat in circles. He became aggressive with his girlfriend, berating her in front of others, striking her, and spitting in her face. He then took off his clothes down to his boxer shorts. Members of the boat described this side of Paul as Timmy, his alter ego, coming out. He told members of the boat to shut the F up and to sit the F down. Eventually, he sped up the boat and hit a bridge piling, throwing several from the boat, including Mallory Beach. 5 of the 6 boat passengers eventually were able to get to safety. Mallory remained missing. She was found over a week later upstream by several miles. Does this tragic crash factor in any way into the murder of Paul and his mother Maggie last week? There was a lot of pressure on the Murdaugh family to deal with the lawsuits that were pending. Some have speculated that the insurance was not going to pay the wrongful death lawsuit and that the money may have to come directly from the Murdaugh pockets. Unlike the wrongful death of their housekeeper a few years prior, whose family settled that case against the Murdaughs for a trip and fall accident in their home. Insurance paid out over $500,000 to settle that case. In the days ahead, Disclosure True Crime hopes to learn more about what may have led up to the deaths of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. So far, there have been very little shared from law enforcement, but the community has been assured that they are safe. Do they already know who may be involved and what their motive is? We will be breaking it down as more comes to light. For more information on the Murdaugh murders and other true crime, please like and subscribe to this channel. You know what to do. Hit that little bell for notifications. And we will see you next time on Disclosure True Crime. Also, for more discussion, head on over to Facebook and search for our group, Disclosure True Crime Murdaugh Murders and request to join.